The evening sky hung low over Balete Drive, cloaked in a deep indigo that hinted at the approaching night. With the sun's last rays fading into the horizon, the street breathed a hushed anticipation, the kind that precedes the unraveling of fate. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, remnants of a brief afternoon rain, as the last vestiges of daylight cast long shadows on the pavement. It was on this fateful stretch of road, lined with towering balete trees, that a tragedy would soon unfold. Maria, a young woman renowned for her beauty, was the embodiment of grace. Clad in a flowing white dress that billowed softly with the evening breeze, she moved with an elegance that turned heads and drew whispers. She was on her way home from a gathering, laughter still echoing in her ears, her heart fluttering with the thrill of youthful exuberance. As she navigated the winding road, the sound of her heels clicking against the asphalt harmonized with the rustling leaves, creating a melody of vibrant life. But shadows lurked beyond the treetops, and not all was as it seemed. A car, its headlights piercing through the darkness, roared down the road with reckless abandon. The driver, a young man whose face was a mask of thrill-seeking bravado, had consumed more than just the evening's cheer. The engine growled like a beast unleashed, echoing through the hollow expanse where only the whispers of trees had reigned moments before. Maria, oblivious to the approaching danger, stepped into the street, her mind lost in the day's warmth. The car, a sleek metal predator, hurtled towards her with a speed that blurred the lines of reality. As the roar of the engine crescendoed, the world narrowed around her, a single moment stretched into an eternity. Time fractured as the driver slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. The screech of tires against asphalt filled the air, mingling with the gasps of a bystander who had witnessed the unfolding horror. The impact was thunderous, a sickening thud that shattered the stillness of the night. Maria was thrown like a fragile doll, her body crumpling onto the unforgiving pavement, her white dress now marred with the grim shades of fate. In the aftermath, the night was punctuated by chaos. The driver emerged, panic-stricken and pale, his bravado evaporated like mist in the morning sun. Bystanders rushed to Maria's side, their faces pale with shock, hands trembling as they tried to comprehend the scene before them. Sirens wailed in the distance, echoing through the trees as the night swallowed the last remnants of life and laughter. As the paramedics arrived, the air thickened with sorrow. Whispers of foul play began to swirl like leaves caught in an autumn wind. Some claimed the driver had been racing, others insisted it was a mere accident, but the truth remained elusive, slipping through fingers like grains of sand. Maria's beauty would haunt Balete Drive, her spirit intertwining with the balete trees, becoming part of the legend that would unfold in hushed tones around flickering streetlights. Years passed, yet the tale of the woman in white lingered, a spectral figure woven into the fabric of the night. Those who traversed Balete Drive spoke of her, a tragic reminder that beauty and sorrow often dance hand in hand, forever entwined beneath the boughs of the trees that bore witness to a fleeting life lost too soon. As dusk settled over Balete Drive in the 1960s, the narrow road, flanked by towering acacia trees, transformed into a realm of shadows and whispers. The fading sunlight cast long, spindly fingers across the pavement, and the air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and night-blooming jasmine. It was during these twilight hours that the first sightings began, igniting a mix of curiosity and dread among the local populace. Drivers traversing the winding stretch of road reported glimpses of an ethereal figure, a woman clad in flowing white, standing forlornly by the roadside. Her gown, billowing gently with the evening breeze, shimmered as if woven from moonlight itself. Many claimed to see her hair cascading down her back, a dark river against the pale fabric, her face obscured by the delicate veil of dusk. At first, the sightings seemed like mere figments of imagination, stories spun to entertain during long nights. However, as more witnesses emerged, the tales began to weave themselves into the fabric of local lore. One fateful evening, a taxi driver named Miguel, known for his late-night shifts, found himself on the infamous stretch of Balete Drive. The hum of his engine was the only sound breaking the stillness, and as he rounded a bend, he caught sight of her, a solitary figure standing just beyond the reach of his headlights. He slowed the car, heart pounding, not out of fear, but out of an inexplicable compulsion to help. "Do you need a ride?" he called out, though he was met with an eerie silence. The figure remained still, her gaze fixed on the distance, seemingly oblivious to the world around her. The hairs on Miguel's arms stood on end as he felt a chill creep through the open window. He turned the ignition, ready to drive on, but something compelled him to linger. The specter's presence was magnetic, yet unsettling. As the seconds stretched into what felt like an eternity, the woman slowly turned her head towards him, revealing a face that was both beautiful and haunting. Her expression was one of sorrow, and Miguel felt a pang of empathy. But in that moment of connection, the headlights flickered, and she vanished, leaving only the whisper of wind in her wake. Gasping, Miguel pressed his foot against the accelerator, racing away from the inexplicable encounter, his heart racing as the shadows closed in behind him. Word of Miguel's experience spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of caution among the townsfolk. No longer did drivers traverse Balete Drive with the same carefree attitude. Instead, they approached the road with trepidation, recounting tales of the woman in white who appeared to those in need, only to vanish before help could reach her. Some believed she was a lost soul, eternally waiting for a ride to the afterlife. Others whispered of a darker fate that befell those who dared to stop for her. As the months turned into years, the sightings continued, each incident adding another layer to the growing mythos of Balete Drive. The once simple thoroughfare, transformed into a site of pilgrimage for thrill-seekers and ghost hunters, their headlights illuminating the same stretch of road that now pulsed with an unearthly energy. Fear and fascination intermingled, as the legend of the woman in white became an indelible part of the community's identity, a spectral reminder that some mysteries are best left untouched, lingering in the shadows of the past. The rain fell in a steady rhythm, drumming against the asphalt roads of the sleepy town of San Miguel. Flickering streetlights cast ghostly shadows, illuminating the damp pavement where the faint outline of a figure could be discerned. It was the 1970s, and as the night deepened, whispers of the White Lady began to weave themselves into the fabric of local lore. Drivers, their tires slicing through the slick roads, often found themselves glancing nervously at their rearview mirrors. Tales of encounters swirled through the air like fog, each story more chilling than the last. Some claimed to have seen her, a figure clad in a flowing white gown, hair cascading like a dark waterfall, standing forlornly by the roadside. Others recounted the sensation of icy fingers trailing down their spines as they drove past the haunted stretches of the highway, where the moonlight barely penetrated the canopy of trees. One such evening, a young man named Marco was making his way home from a late shift at the town's bakery. The small, rickety car he drove sputtered, its engine a constant reminder of its age. The wipers struggled against the relentless rain, blurring the world beyond the windshield. Marco's heart raced as he recalled the stories shared at the town's bar, stories of friends who had encountered the White Lady. Tension gnawed at his mind, but he brushed it aside, convincing himself that tales were just that, mere tales. As he approached a particularly dark stretch of road, Marco's breath quickened. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches clawing at the night sky. Suddenly, the headlights caught a shimmer of white on the side of the road. He squinted, the image sharpening. A woman clad in a flowing white gown, her face obscured by the curtain of her hair. Instinctively, Marco slowed the car, the engine protesting as he pressed the brake. His heart pounded against his ribcage. Was this the White Lady? He remembered the stories of those who had stopped to offer help, only to have her vanish before their eyes. Every fiber of his being urged him to drive on, yet a morbid curiosity anchored him in place. "Are you all right?" he called out, the words escaping his lips before he could reconsider. The woman turned, and for a fleeting moment, their gazes locked. Her eyes were dark voids, filled with sorrow and longing, a haunting reflection of the tales he had heard. As she took a step toward him, the air around Marco thickened with an inexplicable dread. It was as if the very atmosphere conspired against him, urging him to flee. Before he could react, the figure shimmered and began to dissolve into the misty air. Marco's heart raced as the cold realization hit him. The stories were true. The fear that had once seemed ludicrous now gripped him with icy fingers. He slammed his foot on the accelerator, the car lurching forward as he sped down the road, the echo of her presence lingering like a ghost in the night. In the days that followed, Marco's encounter became another thread in the growing tapestry of urban legend. The townsfolk exchanged knowing glances, each story building upon the last, transforming the White Lady from a mere shadow into a harbinger of doom. As the rain continued to fall, so too did the tales of the disappearing hitchhiker, entwining themselves in the lives of those who dared to drive the dark roads of San Miguel. The legend grew, and with it, an unshakable sense of dread that would haunt the town for generations. In the humid twilight of a balmy evening in 1986, the town of San Fernando buzzed with hushed whispers and nervous laughter as the tale of the White Lady swept through its narrow streets. The legend, long whispered among the local folk, had found its way into the hands of eager recorders and curious radio announcers, each eager to spin their own version of the haunting story. It began with a single sighting on the winding road leading to the cemetery, where the shadow of a woman in white had been seen gliding silently among the tombstones. A local taxi driver, gripped by terror, recounted his encounter with the ethereal figure to a late-night radio show. His voice trembled over the airwaves, punctuated by the crackling of static and the rustle of leaves outside. "I swear it was her," he insisted, his words dripping with urgency. Her face was pale, like a ghost, and her dress flowed behind her as if she was floating. "I couldn't drive fast enough to get away." The host, sensing the rising tension, encouraged him to share more, feeding the insatiable appetite of listeners intrigued by the supernatural. Within days, the local newspapers caught the scent of the story, their headlines blaring sensational accounts of the White Lady's nightly wanderings. "Phantom of the cemetery haunts drivers," proclaimed one article, accompanied by a grainy photograph of a distant figure in white, a mere shadow against the backdrop of the moonlit road. The image, though blurred, was enough to send chills down the spines of the townsfolk, igniting a fervor that would soon grip San Fernando. As word spread, the streets filled with thrill-seekers and the morbidly curious. Cars lined up along the outskirts of the cemetery, headlights illuminating the tombstones, casting long shadows that danced eerily in the night. Groups of teenagers, emboldened by bravado and the thrill of the unknown, dared each other to approach the gates, laughter mingling with nervousness. The air was thick with anticipation, each rustle of the wind sending a ripple of unease through the gathering crowd. Alongside the excitement, discussions about road safety surged in the wake of the media coverage. Town officials convened, their voices rising in a heated debate over the implications of the ghostly sightings. "We must ensure our roads are safe," one councilman argued, gesturing emphatically. "This isn't just folklore, it's a matter of life and death." Across the table, others nodded solemnly, remembering the tragic accidents that had occurred along that very stretch of road, perhaps exacerbated by fear and superstition. Meanwhile, the cultural significance of the White Lady narrative began to unfold in the community. Scholars and local historians began to explore the deeper roots of ghost stories in Filipino folklore, examining how they reflected societal fears and moral lessons. The White Lady was not merely a phantom. She embodied the collective anxieties of a nation grappling with change, the echoes of loss and longing mingling with the realities of modern life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over San Fernando, the legend of the White Lady cemented itself in the hearts of the people. With each retelling, her presence grew more vivid, a spectral figure forever intertwined with the town's identity. The tale, once confined to the hushed whispers of a few, had transformed into a communal saga, a testament to the power of storytelling amidst the shadows of the night. As twilight draped itself over the verdant hills of Batangas, a palpable tension hung in the air, thick as the humidity that clung to the skin. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows that danced along the narrow roads where tales of the White Lady had haunted travelers for decades. The ghostly hitchhiker, clad in flowing white, was said to appear to unsuspecting motorists, her ethereal presence a blend of beauty and sorrow. In the heart of this rural landscape, a group of self-proclaimed paranormal investigators gathered in an old wooden bahay na bato. The scent of native wood mingled with the faint aroma of burning candles, casting flickering shadows against the stone walls, a fitting backdrop for their ambitious quest. Led by the determined and well-read Dr. Antonio Reyes, a folklore expert with a penchant for the supernatural, the group comprised 5 members, each armed with notebooks, cameras, and a growing sense of unease. "Tonight we delve into the heart of this legend," Dr. Reyes announced, his voice steady yet tinged with excitement. "We will interview those who have encountered the White Lady and seek tangible evidence of her existence." The investigators split into pairs, each venturing into the nearby barangays, where rumors of the White Lady thrived like the lush greenery surrounding them. In the low light of dusk, they approached the modest homes of the villagers, greeted by wary glances and the cautious hospitality of those steeped in superstition. "Did you see her?" Maria, an elderly woman with gnarled hands that spoke of years laboring in the fields, leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Many have. She appears on the old road after midnight, hair long and flowing, like a river of silk, but beware, she brings with her sorrow." The investigators scribbled furiously, capturing not only the stories, but the palpable fear that lingered in the air. The village, once vibrant with laughter, was now tinged with the weight of unspoken truths. Meanwhile, the sun finally surrendered to the night, and the group reconvened at the Bahay Nabato, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames of their candles. They exchanged stories, each account more chilling than the last. As they pieced together the fragments of the legend, a collective shiver ran down their spines. "She's not just a figment of imagination," Maria had warned them. "She's a warning, a soul trapped between worlds." Their discussions intensified, heated debates erupting over the nature of the supernatural in Filipino culture. Some argued that the White Lady was a mere urban myth, a cautionary tale spun by parents to discourage reckless behavior. Others insisted she was a reflection of the national psyche, a manifestation of grief and loss born from centuries of colonial rule and societal upheaval. The group decided to conduct a vigil along the road where the sightings had reportedly occurred. Armed with flashlights and a portable tape recorder, they ventured into the dark, the sound of cicadas and the rustle of leaves enveloping them like an unseen cloak. Suddenly, a distant figure appeared on the roadside, draped in white, her outline soft and shimmering against the moonlight. The group froze, their hearts racing in unison. The legend had come to life before their eyes, and the air crackled with an electric tension, a moment suspended between reality and the supernatural. The whispers of the past echoed around them, weaving a rich tapestry of folklore, fear, and the search for truth, one that would spark discussions long after the night had faded and the White Lady had vanished into the shadows. The moon hung heavy in the sky, casting an ethereal glow upon Balete Drive, its silvery light filtering through the dense canopy of old trees that lined the road. Shadows danced along the asphalt, twisting and flickering like lost souls, while the whispers of the wind carried tales of the infamous White Lady. As the late 1990s unfolded, the legend of this spectral figure had begun to seep beyond the borders of the small town, drawing in curious thrill-seekers from across the Philippines and beyond. The once quiet thoroughfare, a mere stretch of pavement bordered by sprawling acacia trees, transformed into a pilgrimage site for those seeking adventure, or perhaps redemption. Cars began to line the edges of the road, their headlights piercing the darkness, illuminating the way for the intrepid souls who dared to venture out in search of the ghostly figure said to roam the area. Some came armed with cameras, others with bravado, seeking to capture a fleeting glimpse of the White Lady, draped in flowing white garments, her face obscured by a veil of sorrow. Yet not all were enchanted by the burgeoning influx of visitors. The locals, once accustomed to the serene quiet of their neighborhood, watched with growing unease as the revelry escalated. The laughter and the raucous shouts of tourists clashed with the solemnity of the road, where many believed the spirits of the past still lingered. Elderly women clad in traditional borrowed saya would shake their heads disapprovingly, sharing hushed warnings amongst themselves. "The road is not a playground," they would murmur, casting wary glances at the rows of cars and the flickering lights of cell phones capturing the ominous night. One evening, a group of adventurous young men from Manila, emboldened by stories of the White Lady, decided to push the boundaries of their thrill-seeking. They parked their car in the gloom of Balete Drive and set out on foot, laughter echoing into the night. With each step, the air grew heavier, thick with an unsettling energy that seemed to pulse from the depths of the forest. The rustling of leaves morphed into ghostly whispers, and the cool breeze carried with it the faint scent of jasmine, a fragrance often associated with the apparition. As they ventured deeper into the thicket, a figure suddenly emerged from the shadows, her white dress billowing softly despite the stillness of the air. The men froze, their bravado evaporating, as the figure turned to face them, revealing a visage of haunting beauty marred by an expression of profound sorrow. The light from their flashlights flickered, and in that moment of vulnerability, one of the men stumbled backward, a scream catching in his throat. The others followed suit, adrenaline coursing through their veins as they fled down the road, hearts pounding in their chests. The echo of their panic reverberated through the trees, a stark contrast to the once calm night. Word spread like wildfire through the local community. The elderly women who had warned of disturbances now gathered in the town square, eyes wide with both fear and a hint of vindication. "The spirits are not to be trifled with," one matriarch declared, her voice steady amidst the murmurs of agreement. As the legend of the White Lady continued to grow, so too did the tension between the locals and the visitors. The road, once a serene passageway, had become a battleground of belief and skepticism, tradition and modernity. Each night, the specter of the White Lady watched silently from the shadows, her sorrowful presence a reminder that some legends are more than mere stories. They are woven into the very fabric of the land, a haunting reminder of the past that refuses to be forgotten. The night was heavy with the scent of damp earth, a lingering reminder of the day's rain that had washed away the heat of the sun. Underneath the umbra of towering Balete trees, whispers of the past danced among the leaves, weaving tales of love and loss that haunted the narrow roads of San Mateo, a small town nestled in the embrace of the Philippine mountains. It was in this very town that the legend of the White Lady began to spiral into the hearts and minds of its residents. They spoke of her in hushed tones, especially after dusk, when shadows lengthened and the moon hung like a silver coin in the sky. Tales of her beauty, tangled in sorrow and betrayal, echoed like a mournful song. In the early 2000s, the roads that wound through San Mateo had become treacherous, lined with the remnants of careless nights. Young men, emboldened by bravado and the intoxicating allure of speed, would race their motorcycles, heedless of the consequences. It was one such night, the air thick with anticipation and the roar of engines, that the legend took a tragic turn. Carlos, a handsome young man with dreams as vast as the sky, had promised to take his beloved Maria for a ride. She was the light in his life, her laughter ringing like bells in his ears, but their love was not without its shadows. Maria's father had warned her against Carlos, citing his reckless ways and the whispers of past heartaches. But love, fierce and unyielding, had tied her heart to him, and as they sped down the winding roads, the world blurred into a shadowy haze. Suddenly, the night shattered with a screech of tires and a violent collision that echoed through the valley. The motorcycle, once a vessel of their dreams, lay crumpled on the asphalt, a harbinger of the loss that was to come. Carlos, thrown from the bike, lay motionless, his dreams extinguished in an instant, while Maria, battered and broken, was left to grapple with the weight of her choices. News of the tragedy spread like wildfire, igniting fear in the hearts of the townsfolk. The streets that had once thrummed with laughter now held an oppressive silence. Mothers clutched their children close, warning them of the dangers that lurked in the night, while fathers shook their heads mournfully, recalling their own youthful indiscretions. The White Lady had become a symbol of the recklessness that led to loss, a figure of sorrow that loomed over the town, her legend growing with each retelling. As the days turned into weeks, Maria's grief morphed into something darker. She would wander the roads at night, her pale figure clothed in white, searching for Carlos, her heart forever tethered to the memory of their fleeting love. The townspeople claimed to see her, a ghostly apparition gliding through the fog, her face a mask of anguish. They spoke of her haunting the very roads that had taken her beloved, a reminder of the fragility of life and the consequences of heedless desires. With every passing year, the tale of the White Lady deepened, intertwining with the fears and regrets of a community that had witnessed too much loss. She became a spectral guardian of the night, a tragic reminder of love betrayed and the unresolved issues that lingered long after the last echoes of laughter faded into silence. The roads of San Mateo, shrouded in mystery and sorrow, continued to weave her story into the fabric of their lives, a poignant reflection of the heart's capacity for both love and tragedy. The humid air hung thick over the coastal highway, the sun dipping low on the horizon, casting an orange hue across the landscape. The endless stretch of asphalt, flanked by swaying palms and dense underbrush, buzzed with the chatter of night creatures beginning their symphony. It was in this setting that the legend of the White Lady took on a new life, whispering through the town of San Antonio like the rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. Drivers rolled along the highway, their headlights cutting through the encroaching shadows. Among them was Miguel, a local cab driver, weary from a long day's work. He navigated the winding road, the engine of his aging vehicle sputtering in protest. As he approached a particularly dark stretch, a flicker of white caught his eye, a fleeting glimpse of a figure standing just beyond the tree line. Heart racing, he squinted into the darkness, but the figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Dismissing it as fatigue, he pressed on, unaware that the tale of the White Lady had grown richer and more complex in recent years. Stories had begun to circulate, each retelling infused with fresh fears and contemporary anxieties. Some claimed that the White Lady now roamed the highways, not merely seeking vengeance for her tragic end, but offering warnings to those who drove recklessly. Cautionary tales spread like wildfire through the small town. She appears before the headlights of those speeding along the road, a harbinger of doom, the townsfolk would say, their voices low and conspiratorial. On that fateful night, as Miguel rounded a bend, his headlights illuminated the unmistakable figure, a woman draped in flowing white, hair cascading like a waterfall down her back. Panic surged through him, but he instinctively slammed on the brakes, tires screeching against the pavement. The figure stood unmoving, a ghostly visage framed by the surrounding gloom. "Just a trick of the light," he murmured to himself, his heart pounding in his chest. Yet there she remained, ethereal and haunting, her expression inscrutable. In that moment, Miguel felt a chill sweep through the cab, the air thickening with an unseen weight. He recalled the tales of friends who had encountered her, each recounting a brush with danger narrowly avoided, a swerve that saved them from a collision, a tire blown out just moments after they spotted her. The woman pointed ahead, and as if compelled, Miguel's gaze followed her gesture. The road ahead twisted dangerously, a treacherous bend notorious for accidents. His breath caught in his throat as the realization dawned upon him, a warning. Instinctively he turned the wheel, veering away from the impending danger. As he passed the bend, a sudden roar of vehicle engines echoed behind him. A speeding truck barreled through the very spot he had just avoided, its driver oblivious to the peril that lay ahead. Miguel's heart raced, not just from the near miss, but from the weight of the encounter. The White Lady had not just been a ghostly figure of the past. She was a protector, a guardian of the living, who still traversed the roads she once knew. With the danger averted, Miguel glanced into the rearview mirror. The figure was gone, the road behind him empty. Yet, he understood that the legend of the White Lady had evolved, her presence now a reflection of the fears and realities of modern life. The stories would continue to spread, weaving a tapestry of caution and reverence, a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, someone, something, watched over them. The air was thick with tension as the community gathered at the local plaza, illuminated by the warm glow of lanterns strung from the branches of the ancient acacia trees that had witnessed generations of life in this small Philippine town. The whispers of the White Lady, that ghostly figure rumored to roam the winding roads after dusk, had returned, igniting an urgent call to action among the townsfolk. Mayor Alonso, a stout man with a booming voice and a heart for his constituents, stood at the forefront of the crowd. He cleared his throat, the sound echoing against the stone facade of the old church. "My friends, we gather here not to dwell on fear, but to transform it into a beacon of safety for our families," he proclaimed, his voice steady, despite the palpable anxiety in the air. The legend of the White Lady, who was said to appear at the scene of tragic accidents, had stirred not only a sense of dread, but also a collective resolve for change. As the mayor spoke, the townspeople exchanged glances, recalling the stories that had haunted their nights. The fatal accidents, the tales of reckless driving under the influence, and the loss of young lives. Each anecdote a stark reminder of the need for vigilance on the roads. The flickering lanterns cast shadows that danced like fleeting memories, and the atmosphere thickened with a sense of solemnity. Beside the mayor stood Maria, a local schoolteacher, her brow furrowed in determination. She had lost a dear friend to a reckless driver, and the memory propelled her to action. "We must educate our youth," she urged, stepping forward. "Let us host workshops and seminars, teach them about the perils of speeding and drinking, and instill a sense of responsibility behind the wheel." The crowd murmured in agreement, the weight of her words resonating deeply within their hearts. Plans began to take shape as community leaders rallied together, inspired by the legend that had once incited fear. Flyers were printed, announcing a series of events themed around road safety, titled "Drive with Care," a tribute to the White Lady. The initiative would honor those lost, while simultaneously striving to prevent future tragedies. The first event drew a large crowd, families arriving in droves, children trailing behind their parents with curious eyes. The plaza was transformed into an educational hub, with booths set up to illustrate the consequences of reckless driving. Posters adorned with haunting images of the White Lady served as stark reminders of the cost of negligence. "This is not just a ghost story," read one sign, "but a lesson in responsibility." As dusk fell, the atmosphere shifted. The cool breeze carried a sense of urgency, as local musicians performed soulful ballads that echoed tales of love and loss. The elders shared their stories, recounting instances where they had narrowly escaped danger on the very roads that twisted through the town. The weight of their experiences hung in the air, a palpable reminder of the fragility of life. By the end of the evening, a sense of unity enveloped the crowd. They had transformed a haunting legend into a catalyst for change. As they lit candles in memory of those lost, the flickering flames illuminated their resolve. In that moment, the community bound themselves to a promise, to honor the memory of the White Lady, not with fear, but with vigilance and care. The road ahead lay shrouded in uncertainty, but together they would navigate it with newfound purpose. As dusk settled over Balete Drive, a thick veil of mist crept through the towering acacia trees that flanked the narrow road. The soft rustle of leaves whispered secrets long buried, while the distant hum of the city faded, leaving only the occasional chirp of crickets and the soft thrum of a far-off vehicle. It was in this liminal space, where shadows danced and light dimmed, that the legend of the White Lady had taken root, entwining itself with the very fabric of Filipino folklore. In the late 1970s, her tale began to gain traction, sparked by chilling accounts from drivers and pedestrians alike who claimed to have encountered the spectral figure. Clad in a flowing white dress, her hair cascaded like a dark waterfall over her shoulders. Those who spotted her spoke of an unsettling chill that enveloped the air, a foreboding sense that something was terribly amiss. She appeared suddenly, standing by the roadside, her sorrowful gaze fixed upon them as if pleading for help. Yet, as vehicles approached, she would vanish into thin air, leaving behind only the echo of unease. By the late 2010s, the whispers of her legend had reached a fever pitch, drawing the attention of filmmakers and documentarians eager to explore the intersection of myth and reality. As the sun dipped below the horizon, crews set up cameras along the infamous stretch of Balete Drive. Their mission was not merely to capture the ghostly figure, but to delve deeper into the cultural psyche of a nation that had long grappled with the complexities of history, memory, and the supernatural. The first documentary, The Haunting of Balete Drive, premiered to an eager audience. It opened with aerial shots of the road, a ribbon of asphalt winding through a forest of trees, the eerie stillness punctuated by the occasional flickering of streetlights. Interviews with local residents revealed a tapestry of experiences, each thread woven with fear and fascination. Some recounted personal encounters, while others shared stories passed down through generations, their voices quaking with reverence. As the film delved deeper, it unearthed an unsettling truth. The White Lady was not merely a ghost, but a symbol of loss, grief, and unresolved trauma. Scholars argued that her apparition reflected the turbulent history of the Philippines, colonialism, war, and the struggle for identity. The filmmakers captured the essence of these discussions, weaving in historical footage, newspaper clippings, and expert commentary, creating a haunting narrative that transcended mere entertainment. The next documentary, Legends in the Concrete Jungle, took a different approach, exploring the psychological impact of urban legends on Filipino society. It featured social scientists who dissected the cultural significance of ghost stories, positing that they served as a coping mechanism for the anxieties of modern life. As the camera panned over the busy streets of Metro Manila, the juxtaposition of urbanity and folklore became starkly apparent. Each ghost story a reminder of the past lurking in the shadows of the present. As the documentaries gained traction, audiences flocked to theaters, igniting fervent discussions about the nature of belief and the cultural heritage embedded in ghost stories. The White Lady of Balete Drive, once a mere whisper in the night, now stood as a beacon of collective memory, a reminder that the boundary between history and myth is often blurred, and that the past continues to haunt the living in ways both profound and unsettling. In the stillness of Balete Drive, as the documentaries played on screens across the nation, the spirit of the White Lady lingered, a testament to the enduring power of stories that bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen. In the heart of Manila, where the cacophony of jeepneys and the scent of street food wafted through the air, a modern phenomenon began to take root in the collective consciousness of the youth. The year was 2023, and the flickering screens of social media had become the new hearth around which stories were shared and legends reborn. Among these tales, one resonated with an intensity that transcended time: the haunting narrative of the White Lady. It was on a humid evening, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and lavender, that a young college student named Maria sat cross-legged on her bed, her phone illuminating her face. She had stumbled upon a video that depicted the White Lady, a spectral figure said to roam the deserted roads of Balete Drive. The video, crafted with eerie soundscapes and chilling testimonials, captivated her. It was not merely a ghost story, it was a portal to a past steeped in moral lessons, cultural reflections, and the rich tapestry of Filipino folklore. Encouraged by the wave of excitement, Maria decided to share her own interpretation. She recalled an evening spent with friends, laughter echoing through the air as they dared each other to approach the infamous tree that marked the beginning of Balete Drive. "What if we saw her?" they had whispered, a thrill of fear weaving through their camaraderie. With a few taps on her screen, she transformed that memory into a post, a blend of narrative and visual art, our friends' faces painted with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Within hours, her post garnered a flurry of likes and comments, each interaction a thread weaving a larger tapestry of shared experience. Young voices chimed in with their own tales, of shadows flitting through moonlit streets, of encounters that left them breathless and pondering the fragile line between folklore and reality. This digital renaissance sparked a wildfire of interest, drawing the attention of not just her peers, but also older generations who had once whispered the tales of the White Lady in the dim light of their childhood homes. As the days rolled into weeks, a dedicated community emerged around the legend. Hashtags like #WhiteLadyStories and #BaleteDriveMemories trended, and various platforms became sanctuaries for those wishing to share their fears and fascinations. Artists and storytellers flourished, creating vivid illustrations and animations that brought the White Lady's legend into a contemporary context, her story weaving seamlessly into the modern Filipino identity. However, with this resurgence came tension. Traditionalists lamented the dilution of the legend, fearing that the essence of the White Lady was being lost to sensationalism. They recalled the cautionary tales, told around flickering lanterns, the moral lessons that were interwoven with her story, the dangers of straying too far into the night, the importance of respect for the past. Discussions erupted in comment threads as the dichotomy between preserving tradition and embracing innovation unfolded in real time. In the midst of this cultural tempest, Maria found herself at the center of a burgeoning movement, a bridge between generations, uniting the past and present through the lens of the digital age. As she crafted her next post, she felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders. The White Lady was no longer just a specter haunting Balete Drive. She was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that stories, no matter how old, could find new life in the hearts of those willing to share them. The legend of the White Lady had not merely survived, it had evolved, encapsulating the vibrant spirit of a nation yearning to connect its rich heritage with the pulse of modernity. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the streets of Manila, the stories continued to flow, echoing through the digital landscape, alive and ever relevant. The rain fell steadily on Balete Drive, each droplet splattering against the cracked pavement like the soft whispers of long-forgotten spirits. Shadows danced in the dim light of the street lamps, their flickering illumination barely penetrating the murky darkness. It was here, amid the ancient Balete trees, that the legend of the White Lady had taken root, intertwining itself with the very essence of Filipino folklore. As night descended upon the bustling streets of Quezon City, a young couple, Mariela and Andres, found themselves navigating the winding road that had become infamous for its ghostly tales. Their laughter echoed softly against the backdrop of rain, but even the warmth of their companionship could not dispel the chill that clung to the air. They had heard the stories, tales of a tragic woman draped in white, her sorrowful spirit wandering in search of solace. Yet curiosity outweighed fear as they drove deeper into the heart of the legend. "Did you hear that?" Mariela's voice trembled, a mix of excitement and trepidation. The car's headlights illuminated a figure standing just off the road, her silhouette ghostly against the lush greenery. The woman appeared ethereal, her long white gown billowing like mist. Mariela's breath caught in her throat. It was as if the stories had come to life before their very eyes. Andres, emboldened by youthful bravado, slowed the vehicle. "It's just a trick of the light," he assured, though the tight grip on the steering wheel betrayed his own unease. They inched closer, their hearts racing in unison. The figure turned, revealing a face framed by cascading hair, pale and hauntingly beautiful, yet marked by an unmistakable sorrow. "Turn back," the apparition whispered, her voice barely rising above the patter of rain. "You must not linger here." Mariela gasped, her instincts screaming to flee, but before she could voice her fear, the woman raised a hand, beckoning them closer. The air grew heavy, thick with an unexplainable tension. The couple exchanged glances, each one silently questioning the other's resolve. The stories had warned of dire consequences for those who dared to ignore the White Lady's plea. Suddenly, the engine sputtered and died, plunging them into an eerie silence save for the relentless rain. Panic surged through Andres as he turned the ignition fruitlessly. The headlights flickered, casting erratic shadows that seemed to swirl around them. Mariela's heart raced, and she could feel the weight of the woman's gaze, as if it bore into her very soul. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling, "we mean no harm." The White Lady's expression softened, her sorrow palpable. "Remember me," she said, the sadness in her tone echoing the stories passed down through generations. "I am but a remnant of love lost, a warning to those who tread lightly upon this earth." As the rain began to subside, the air grew still, and the woman took a step back, fading into the shadows of the Balete trees. The couple breathed in unison, wonder and fear intertwined. In that fleeting moment, they understood. Her legacy would endure, woven into the fabric of their lives, and the lives of those who would follow. After what felt like an eternity, the car's engine roared back to life. They sped away, their hearts still racing, but the weight of the encounter remained. The legend of the White Lady would continue to thrive, a haunting reminder of the past, captivating both locals and visitors who dared to traverse the winding road of Balete Drive.